Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden on a really beautiful sunny afternoon. Can't wait to go back into the sun. It's a little breezy, but in the sun it's lovely and warm. And since the weather is so nice, I want to continue planting today with you. And I want to take you with me to the back of our garden, to the new herbaceous border, because there's still two varieties of grasses waiting to finally find their way into the ground. So what I want to do today is plant two varieties of Pennisetum. Hope this is something that might intrigue you. And for those of you who follow my channel already for quite a while, you might remember, I think it was a video where I was planting amaranth together with you. I already showed you that area of the garden and the containers were already standing in there, because what I do if I'm not 100% sure if I really want to put something into a certain area, or I do with most of the plants actually. I just take the containers, put them in there and just look at it for a week or so. In this instance it was more like 2 weeks I suppose, because I was just a little too lazy to plant them. But I think now is a good day, because they're not getting better the longer they sit in the containers, and I think that they're going to look so nice there. So obviously what I want to do first is take you with me to the back of the garden, show you exactly where I want to plant, what I want to plant, give you some key information about Pennisetum just in case if you're not growing them in your own garden, because I think they are absolutely worth it. They are great grasses, and especially the varieties that I'm going to show you today. So I hope that you're excited to join me in the garden today. I think I want to show you from this angle here where I want to plant and why I want to plant there. So in the back, I come in with my finger now. You see the pear tree, and then there are some black containers, and this is where I want to plant some Pennisetum. The variety is called Red Hat. And the reason why I want to put it there is I think that they are just a perfect plant for the front row of a border, because they have this element of airiness and texture. They're very soft, so they really soften the edges. And obviously I think ornamental grasses are always lovely in combination with any kind of perennial or annuals. And the reason why I chose that variety of Pennisetum is quite simple, because I already have drifts here. So I have a drift here on the right which flanks a little section of the island bed, and then to the left I have more of the same variety, and they're just coming back to life. So they're looking nice, lush and green. They're really filling up all the spaces, so all of the mulch just starts to disappear here. And then I feel if we just continue walking, it will be just a wonderful effect to have the same grass here again, because I love this momentum when you have cohesion in your garden and something just repeats in the borders, and I feel that they're really, really wonderful here. So in total I have 7 grasses, yeah, we're just quickly counting, and I'm going to pack them. I'm really going to plant them quite densely, because I don't want to see them as like a single individual statement grass. I really want to see them as a big drift, and this is why they're not spaced out according to label. Then the second Pennisetum that I want to plant here is this variety here, and I've already planted it with you in one of my previous videos where I was amping up an area on a slope. But again, I think it is nice to have it here because of its texture and color, because it has this beautiful, almost black, very dark crimson color leaves. Is it leaf on grass? It's just grass basically. But as the sun hits it in the late afternoon, also during the day, I think they're very nice, because these colors really seem to glow at one point during the day. This is a variety called, whoop, here's a label, Vertigo. It is Pennisetum Vertigo from Proven Winners. So yay, finally we're able to get Proven Winners plants also in Europe. So obviously I went a little bonkers over these here, and 3 more are going to go into the border here. And I think that they'd be just really beautiful. There is a drift of Calamagrostis grass all the way in the back here of the border. So I really thought about it, is it a smart idea to put grass in front of a grass? But I think it is, because it is a different kind of grass. It has a different color, a different growing habit and a different texture. The Calamagrostis is quite upright, while the Pennisetum is more like arching and has these very long, strappy kind of grass blades here, like really lovely in the wind. So I think that they bring something different. And on top of it, this is where I planted a drift of amaranth. Velvet curtains, I was just thinking about the name. Here they look fairly nice, not a lot of slug and snail damage. I'm really happy with those. They really started kicking in with a lot of growth. I've got more on the slope, so I think I will just fill in between the gaps a little bit just to have a big impact. But I think overall this will be a wonderful area because I'm going to have some asters in the back there for autumn. Then I have the beautiful red foliage from the amaranth with the red tassels, calamagrostis grass, which is really lovely green now, and at one point it will be really beautiful bronze color, and then the Pennisetum in front of here. So I think it will be just a beautiful plant arrangement. In general, Pennisetum grasses, they thrive best in full sun, even though the label on this one says full sun to partly shade. But according to my experience here, definitely do yourself a favor and the plant, put it in full sun, at least if you're gardening in a zone close to what I am. I'm in a zone 7B at the south coast of the Baltic Sea. And having that said, the soil conditions here are very sandy, which is typical for the south coast of the Baltic Sea. But that also means that grasses, ornamental grasses in general, are very happy here because this is exactly what they love to thrive. And ornamental grass, they really appreciate a quite nice, lofty, airy soil with sand in it. And this is also good for lawn, by the way. So sometimes if you see a lawn keeper, what they would do if the lawn is not looking good anymore, they will come in and pinch holes into the lawn and come with sand to just give extra drainage to the soil and to make sure that the roots have the ability to develop well. So as I showed you, I'm going to plant two different varieties of Pennisetum to the garden. So the redhead variety, I think, is a beautiful addition, especially to the back of a garden, because as the name already says, there must be something red going on. First thing is the tips of those blades are in a reddish tone, kind of like rusted red. I think this is going to be a beautiful addition because in the back of a garden, I focus on color combinations of red with purple and violet. So definitely that will make total sense in there. And on top of it, I think the growing habit on all kind of Pennisetums is just beautiful because they create this really lush kind of half dome shape. You could see it already at the ones that are in the ground since last year. They really come back with a lot of fresh, lush green shoots, and they're gonna really fill up the entire area. You can also plant them just single and individually, and then you really get to appreciate the single growing habit of one Pennisetum grass. I like to put them in a drift because then you really have this wonderful soft cloud, especially here on top of the dike when the wind comes, or just a light breeze, not the storm necessarily, but then the grass really waves gently in the wind. The flowers are also very pretty on this one. According to the label, I think it's had June. Yeah, no, July. July, here definitely, July more August, I would say. The flowers appear. And the flowers on Pennisetum are very wonderful because they come on these very long, elegant, thin stems. And then the actual flowers, they kind of look like pipe cleaners in a way. They are very fluffy, very airy, again, on this variety in a red tone. Depending on your variety, some also like brownish, like purplish, can really play with the colors of the blooms of grasses as well. Something that a lot of people sometimes don't see or don't really acknowledge, that grass don't only come with a grass texture, but they bloom as well, which is obviously beautiful. In terms of size, this can grow up to 70 centimeters in height, but this is measured with a flower head because the blades are going to do this dome shape, pretty much the height that they have right now. And then the flowers, they would just like kind of like wave and dance over the nice dome shape of the leaves. Then the next variety, this is really exciting because my parents, they used to live in Florida for many years, and I know that my dad had this in the front garden, and obviously it was bigger and better to what anything I can expect here just because of the climate in Florida. I mean, I'm in a zone 7B, so that is not going to grow as massive as there. According to the label, this variety will grow between 70 and 80 centimeters in height, which I think would be really beautiful for that part of the garden there, because I don't want to block the view in the new herbaceous border, because at the back you could see the landscape just open, so we can really borrow the landscape, and I don't want to put any tall shrubs or trees or anything there. They would just block the view into the landscape, because also that is west facing, so we get to enjoy the afternoon and evening sun there. Rule of thumb is whenever you are planting Pennisetum grasses, you can tell you have those that are mainly green with a little red tips, and then you have varieties that are kind of like red. You also have like redhead Pennisetum. These varieties here in my climate zone, they won't be hardy. Now Alfie comes and wants to play. Luckily she brought me a little stick, so there she goes. So this variety won't be hardy here. The red hair Pennisetum that I grew, for example, from seed and that I put already on the slope won't be hardy either. So this is something that I have in the back of my mind. But you know what? These plants are so wonderful and they bring so much joy for an entire season. And sometimes I think it is also a nice thing to put something in your border that is not hardy, because when I only have perennials and ornamental grass that will make it through winter, then the next year I could just maintain, but I don't have the fun of planting and rearranging. So I think like in the new herbaceous border and especially at the slope, I really want to have these areas where I can focus on just putting annual blooms and also annual grasses, because then you could just really always paint new pictures in your garden. This variety here won't come to bloom. You can already see it on the label. I think the label is beautiful though. I'm going to give you a closer look at it. They put it in a container, which is something that you can do really well with Pennisetum grasses if you want to grow them individually. So just put it in a container. I hope you get to see it. And then they put white petunias underneath there, which I feel is a beautiful color combination, and maybe some Ipomoea, sweet potato vine if I'm not wrong. So yeah, definitely well worth trying to think about this variety for your own garden as well. What I'm going to do now is plant them, and planting is super easy because I have sandy soil. I don't need to manipulate the soil here. I could just dig a hole, put them in, and they'd be happy. I plant them dead level, and whenever I plant something, I put some organic bone chips in there just for the nitrogen level in the soil, especially on the perennial ones, because I want to make sure that they develop a good root system. So this is what I'm going to do, plant these, and then I have a stick again. Then I'm going to play with Alfie for the rest of the afternoon, because I think today she came a little short. The grasses are in the ground, and obviously there was a rather fast project. There were just like 10 grasses, and on top of it I didn't need to amend the soil with anything. So yeah, it was just like digging, putting them in and just pressing them well in so that there are no air pockets. But I think in general it looks really nice. What you could tell is that the Pennisetum red hat, they were really pot bound, which means that the roots were already growing like round and round in the container. So there I came in with a pair of scissors and just really broke some of the big fleshy roots loose, just to make sure that it does not continue growing just like in a circle, in a pot-bound circle on how it's had in its container, because you really want to make sure that the grasses start to root outwards. And then the Vertigo variety, that definitely needed to go out of its container because it kind of had a different root system. You could see that it had like long fleshy tap roots almost. They really tried to get into the ground, but there was the container, so they couldn't go any deeper. So I think that they'd be well happy in there. What I want to do though is obviously give you one last look at this area, but also at the opposite side. There is a little area where I planted coleus earlier on with you, and just planting it, I thought, you know what, it is a little funny color combination that I've got going on there, but in a way, there is something nice about it. I'm really intrigued to hear what you think about that as well. In the back, you can see that big clouds start rolling over because we're really expecting rain tonight, which is wonderful, but the soil is really lovely moist of all the rain that we had. So digging the planting holes, the soil was really saturated with moisture, so that was wonderful. Here you see the red hat Pennisetum. I think it is just a wonderful plant for the front row of a border. Obviously, this entire border is planted new this year, so a lot of the plants are still on the smaller side, especially the salvia. This is Caradonna. They are teeny. They should grow to triple the size, and it's well needed, because I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure about this. This is the first clump of salvia that I'm doing in a very, very long time. So I'm kind of like just ignoring the fact that they are so small at this time of the year right now. So let's see how they are going to progress. In the back, you can see that the Eusphere, unfortunately, there are some branches that decided to die, but it comes with a lot of fresh new grown shoots. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait and see before I cut anything in there. Next to the Pennisetum, I think that the Vertigo variety is going to be really wonderful in here. I told you before, like I have the red amaranth just next to it. So it is very nice color coordinated, and then with the green grasses in the back, so I'm really happy about those. I kind of thought about maybe putting another clump here, coming with my finger now, somewhere here. I put seedlings in there. There was mahogany splendor, what is it, hibiscus. Hibiscus mahogany splendor, I think 3 survived out of my entire patch. Maybe not the right plant here, maybe I did something wrong with the sowing. I'm still going to try it next year though, but yeah, this year there was not a big success story. But what I want to show you is actually this area here. I mean, the Napata looks fantastic. Then I've got some sedum there, then the coleus. And if I swing around, I hope you really get to see it. It is an odd color combination in a way, but it goes from the red of the coleus to the rose here. That is acropolis, and it just starts to bloom, and it has a very intriguing color. It is something in between kind of like peachy, apricot, but then also pinkish in a way. So it kind of ties back to the coleus. And then next to it, look at these beauties here in yellow, kind of like yellow torches in the sun. So in a way, I feel like it is a very intriguing color combination. In the back, there is still a little bit of blue coming from the Aquilegia, but then I've got phlox, this is blue paradise, and then veronicastrum in the back there as well, which is going to produce very pale blue flower spikes. And my fig, there is a fig that's survived winter here. I'm so proud about it. And it starts branching out. Look at that. If that isn't a lovely side. So yeah, there was kind of like a little bonus. This is not really an area that I planned out. It was more like a testing ground for a while. But in a way, I'm quite happy with the testing ground, and especially with the coleus here still. I wish that they would really start growing a little faster now, because I really come in almost every second night and collect slugs and snails. But so far, I think the back of a garden really starts coming together. And now I think I'm gonna take this thing here, which is a branch, and play with little Missy, because she was so patient with me and waited up until I was done with all the digging and planting. That's it for today's video. You can see my back. I still need to tidy up a little bit, and I grabbed myself a sweater because a quite chill wind is picking up, and I think it has to do with rain being on its way, which is wonderful, obviously, because I haven't watered in any of the grasses, and I think that they'd be so happy with some lovely fresh rain, so they're really encouraged to root and well, and I think this is exactly what they're gonna do now. We've had funny weather this year. How is it in your garden? We have like these days where it's kind of cool and chilly like today in spring, but then the next day it's so muggy and warm you can cut the air with a warm butter knife. It's funny weather situation, but nevertheless it is kind of good because there's a lot of moisture in the ground. You can tell, oh my god, the lawn full of daisies, but besides a daisy lawn, everything is lush green, very vigorous, everything looks fantastic. So I can't wait to give you update to us. Also on the Pennisetum, and it could maybe encourage you, try to find an area in your garden where you can grow Pennisetum, and if it is just a container, because they look fantastic in a container, as well as you could see on the label from Proven Winner. So hope you enjoyed today's video, and I would love to welcome you in my garden very soon again. Take care guys, bye.